Today we will explore how the rise of nationalism transformed two major empires, the Hapsburg Empire and the Ottoman Empire, and led to the emergence of new nations across Europe. Let's start with the powerful Habsburg Empire, which dominated Central Europe for centuries. Through clever marriages and military victories, the Habsburgs built an empire that stretched from Austria to Spain. Their story begins in 1273, when Rudolf I became king of the Germans. The family expanded their control through strategic marriages, including a brilliant double wedding in 1515 that eventually brought them Hungary and Bohemia. Under Charles V, they reached their peak of power, controlling territories across Europe, including Austria, Hungary, Bohemia, parts of Spain, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and Burgundy. By the 1800s, the Habsburg Empire faced a serious challenge: nationalism. The empire was home to many different ethnic groups, each with their own language and culture. While most people had previously identified simply as subjects of the Habsburg Empire, now they began wanting recognition for their own distinct identities. The empire tried to handle this by allowing local languages in schools and creating fair laws for everyone. Interestingly, most citizens remained loyal to the empire until World War I, but the growing pressure from nationalist movements eventually became too much to contain. Now let's look at how this played out with the Czechs in particular. Living in Bohemia, Moravia, and Silesia, the Czechs had a strong cultural identity, but they were required to use German in government and education. In the early 1800s, Czech scholars began promoting their language and culture in what became known as the Czech National Revival. During the 1848 revolutions, they demanded greater autonomy and recognition of their language. While they initially just wanted autonomy within the empire, by World War I, many Czechs were pushing for complete independence. This movement created tensions between Czechs and Germans in Bohemia and challenged the empire's authority. The Emperor Franz Joseph tried various strategies to manage these nationalist movements. His biggest move was the Austro-Hungarian Compromise of 1867, which gave Hungarians significant autonomy. He allowed education in local languages and tried to treat all citizens equally. However, his reforms had limited success because they ended up privileging German Austrians and Hungarians over other ethnic groups, particularly the Slavic peoples. In 1867, the Habsburg Empire underwent a dramatic transformation with the creation of Austria-Hungary. After losing a war with Prussia and being kicked out of the German Confederation, Austria needed to maintain its influence. The solution? A constitutional monarchy that split the empire into two equal parts. Both Austria and Hungary got their own parliaments and prime ministers while sharing responsibilities for foreign affairs and defense. Think of it as two separate governments working together under one emperor. They even had three different armies, and officers had to speak multiple languages to command their troops effectively. Unfortunately, the dual monarchy created as many problems as it solved. By giving special privileges to Germans and Magyars, or Hungarians, it made their other ethnic groups feel like second-class citizens. Austria and Hungary handled their minorities very differently. Austria guaranteed minority rights, while Hungary tried to force everyone to adopt Hungarian language and culture. Even Archbishop Franz Ferdinand recognized this was a serious problem, noting in 1913 that if the empire treated its Slavic citizens fairly, many of their frustrations would disappear. This growing discontent would eventually contribute to the empire's collapse. Now let's shift our attention to another major power, the Ottoman Empire. Starting in 1354, the Ottomans began expanding into Europe through a series of brilliant military campaigns. They captured key cities like Adrianople and Sofia, won major battles at Kosovo and Nicopolis, and in 1453 achieved their greatest victory, capturing Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire. Under Suleiman the Magnificent, they reached their peak, controlling an enormous empire that stretched across 3 continents. By the 19th century, this once mighty empire was struggling so badly that people called it the sick man of Europe. The Ottomans faced massive debt and had to declare bankruptcy in 1875. Their military fell behind other European powers in technology and training. They lost territory to independence movements in Greece, Romania, and Serbia. Despite attempts at modernization, the empire struggled with eternal resistance to change and limited resources. They spent only 0.2% of their budget on education in 1860 and 1861. As the Ottoman Empire weakened, Russia and Austria-Hungary seized their chance to grab territory. Russia gained access to the Black Sea through the Treaty of Kuchuk-Kanarja, Kuchuk-Kanarja in 1774 and took control of Crimea. Meanwhile, Austria-Hungary got permission to occupy Bosnia in 1878 and formally annexed it in 1908. This move angered Serbia and Russia, but when Germany attacked Austria-Hungary, they had to accept it. And this brings us to our final topic, the Balkan Wars, which would ultimately help spark World War I. These conflicts showed how the decline of the Ottoman Empire and the rise of nationalism created a powder keg in southeastern Europe. When it finally exploded, it would change the map of Europe forever. The collapsing of the Hapsburg and Ottoman Empire drew Europe's map and created new nations, but it also left behind challenges we still see today. These empires show us how difficult it is to govern diverse populations fairly and how economic weaknesses can bring down even the mightiest states. The questions they struggled with, how to balance national identity with diversity, how to treat minorities fairly, continue to shape our world. By understanding their story, we better understand the headlines we read today.